students. Today we are going to continue with the first lesson of the history, Renaissance in Europe and development of science. Now we'll continue with our next point, which is 1.3, development of science. It is believed that the European natural scientists of the 17th century laid the foundation of modern science, and these efforts helped the progress of science. In Europe, some organizations were established for research in science. These organizations published scientific journals which included research articles. Next is scientific invention in various fields. Various instruments like compass, telescope, thermometer, and barometer were invented in this period. Microscope invented in this period made it easier to observe the various types of microorganisms. So student, microscope today you can see in science laboratory it is available. With the help of the microscope, student can observe microorganisms while doing the practical. Now next is compass. Compass was invented in China during the 2nd century BC and 1st century AD. Compass is used for the navigation. Next is barometer. Barometer is an instrument measuring atmosphere pressure and used specially in forecasting the weather and determining altitude. Taxonomy was developed to classify animals. The research by the Benjamin Franklin was very important. He coined many technical terms which are used in the electrical science even today. Next point is textile industry. Weaving of woolen cloth was very old cottage industry in England. John Kay in 1738 made and patented flying shuttle. It increased the speed of weaving, and the next advanced machine was named as spinning jenny. A spinning jenny with a multiple spindles made by James Hargreaves in England. With the help of this machine, one could work 8 spindles simultaneously on this frame, and it reduced the amount of labor as well as time of production. So what is spindle? A spindle is a straight spike usually made from a wood used for spinning or twisting wool. So it is one type of the instrument which is used in weaving a cloth. In the year 1769, Richard Arkwright made a more advanced spinning frame which is mechanized and process of spinning. It could produce the yarns much faster with a better twisting and a strength. Edmund Cartwright invented power loom. In the year 1793, a machine called cotton gin was introduced. Cotton gin, it is one type of the machine which is used to separate seed from the cotton plant, and this machine was useful in removing cotton seeds from the cotton fibers with a much greater speed. Student, here you can see the spinning mill is the machine which is used to spin cotton and other fibers, and it was used extensively from the late of 18th century to early 20th century in the mills of Lancashire and elsewhere. Next is metallurgy. Metallurgy is the branch of science and technology concerned with the properties of metals and their production and purification. In England had a number of iron mines, but it was necessary to advance the technique of smelting iron in order to get purified iron. Gradually, the fuel for the iron furnaces was replaced from the wood to coal. Furnaces is the device which is used to heat. It is facilitated creation of the furnaces that could attain much higher temperature, resulting into increased production of iron. In the year 1865, the process of producing steel from the molten iron was invented, and because of it, iron industry underwent the major transformation. Once a machine proved effective for one industry, people tried to test its usefulness for other industries too. 1783, Thomas Bell made a machine for cylinder or roller printing on fabric. In 1809, a machine came in use for sticking together the heels and the soles of shoes. Tailoring machines were made. James Watt invented steam engine. In the beginning, this engine was only used to transport the coal iron out of the mines. Later, the steam powered machinery came to be used in the textile industry too. In America, Robert Fulton, an engineer, successfully sailed the steamboat which was named as Clermont. A steam engine for railway was also produced. This railway engine could successfully cut the distance between Liverpool to Manchester. Later railway services were expanded through Europe. It shortened the time of travel within Europe. Student, next part is 1.5, which is geographic discoveries and explorer. In this part, we are going to talk about the different seafarers from Europe's and what they had discovered and for what sake they had discovered. So, the age of discovery or the age of exploration um, actually it begins of the 15th century until the middle of 17th century. It is a term for the period in European history in which extensive overseas exploration emerged as a powerful factor in European culture. Most notably, the discovery of the Americas, and during which time was the beginning of what is known today as globalization. So, it also marks the rise of widespread adoption of colonialism. In the next chapter, we are going to talk about colonialism. Many lands previously unknown to Europeans were discovered by them during this period. Thought most of were already inhabited. European exploration European overseas exploration led to the rise of global trade and the European colonial empires. And it was with the contact between the old world means here Europe, Asia, and Africa, and the new world means which had been explored afterwards. So that is the America and Australia, producing the Columbian Exchange, a wide transfer of plants, animals, food, human population, including slaves, as well as communicable diseases and culture between the eastern and the western hemisphere. So, the age of discovery and later the European exploration allowed the mapping of the world, resulting in a new worldview and distant civilizations coming into contact. So here we are going to discuss about some of the scientists or some of the explorers who made a journey all over the world and they discovered some new land, they explore some new land. First we are going to talk about Marco Polo. He was the Italian traveler who introduced China and other Asian countries to Europe. He stayed in China in the royal court of Kublai Khan. There only he studied the Mongolian and the Chinese language. Next explorer was Ibn Battuta. Ibn Battuta, he was uh, he was a Muslim Berber, Moroccan scholars and explorer who widely traveled the medieval world. And he was a scholar and the famous traveler. He visited India, Maldives, Sumatra, China, Spain, East and West Africa for various reasons. Next is Henry the Navigator. Henry was responsible for the early development of Portuguese exploration and the maritime trade with the other continents through the systematic exploration of Western Africa. He was the Prince of the Portugal in the 15th century. He was encouraged people to go on expeditions and search for the lands which were not known till then. The Portuguese began to transport African people to Portugal and sell them as slaves. African gold was also brought back to Portugal by these people. Next is Bartholomew Dias. Dias began his expeditions on the orders of the King of Portugal, John II. He reached the southern tip of Africa, which he named as Cape of Storms. Later, the name was changed to Cape of Good Hope. Next one is Columbus. Columbus, he was an Italian explorer and colonizer who completed 4 voyages across the Atlantic Ocean that opened the new world for the conquest and the permanent European colonization of the Americas. He was certain that by sailing the westward he would find India, as the earth is round. Instead of reaching India, he reached the island near America. Student, next one is Americo Vespucci. He was an Italian merchant, traveler, explorer, and navigator from the Republic of Florence from whose name the term America is derived. So he was a person who was an Italian and is supposed to have gone on journey on the orders of King of Spain. The land he found was named as Venezuela. In his third expedition, by following the river course, he could discover the delta region of Amazon. It is believed that the America was named after Americo. Next person, next explorer who is very famous, all we know about him. That person is Vasco da Gama. In the year 1497, Vasco da Gama, the Portuguese, he set sail with a fleet of 4 ships and 170 sailors in the search of India. He reached the eastern coast of Africa and visited a few African ports like Mombasa and Malindi. At Malindi, he met an Italian navigator, and under his guidance, Vasco da Gama landed the Indian port of Calicut in 1498. He was the first European who reached India by sea. He asked, he asked King Zamorin for trading permission. After he got permission, he returned to Portugal. Thereafter, he visited India twice. So, near about 3 times he came to India, and he became the first viceroy of Goa and Kochi after the Portuguese rule was established. The trading between the European countries and India was initiated because of his efforts. Next is Samuel de Champlain. He was a French colonist, navigator, as well as a cartographer who organized expeditions to North America. There he established French colonies and he established the city of Quebec in Canada. Next one is Abel Tasman. He born in Holland. He contributed himself to the colonial rush for searching unknown lands. He discovered New Zealand. In 1644 he surveyed the southwest coast of New Guinea Island and discovered the region of Carpentaria in the Queensland, a northeastern state in Australia. Next is Ferdinand Magellan, who organized the first expedition which proved to be the first attempt of circumnavigation of the earth. Unfortunately, when it had almost reached completion, Magellan was killed in Philippines. Next is Mungo Park. Mungo Park, a Scottish explorer, is known for his expedition to the Western Africa. In 1795, he traced the course of river Niger as part of his expedition. Louis Antoine, he was a French seafarer. He reached Tahiti after crossing the Pacific Ocean. And the last but not the least, Captain James Cook was a British explorer, navigator, cartographer, and the captain in the British Royal Navy. The Industrial Revolution in Europe didn't happen overnight but only spread over the continents very gradually. One of the triggers was the unusually high growth in the population, which set in around the middle of the 18th century and produced a big reservoir of workers. At the same time, new next is Ferdinand Magellan, who organized the first expedition. The Industrial Revolution in Europe didn't happen overnight but only spread over the continents very gradually. One of the triggers was the unusually high growth in the population, which set in around the middle of the 18th century and produced a big reservoir of workers. At the same time, new, more efficient methods of the production became necessary in order to supply the basic needs of so many people. In this situation, Great Britain enjoyed two important advantages: an extremely productive and wealthy agricultural system, and an astonishing number of creative inventors. This was why the United Kingdom dictated the rhythm of progress to the rest of Europe from 1750 onwards for the next century or so. Industrial revolution indicates the transition from manual production to the mechanized production. In the 18th and 19th centuries, steam powered and the water powered machines came into use for the industrial production. Private ownership of the industrial establishments, manufacturers' right to the manufacture and to fix the price of the manufactured goods and also to determine the profit margins. In England, the atmosphere was suitable for the industrial revolution. Large amount of the iron ore and coal were available. The humid climate of the England was suitable for producing the cotton yarn. With all these favorable conditions, textile industry flourished in England. So England could easily obtain large quantities of the essential raw material at cheap rate from their colonies. The profit earned in the colonies made large amounts of the capital available to the British merchants. Availability of cheap labor made it possible for them to maintain optimum level of cost. These factors giving boost to economy prepared the revolution favorable ground for the onset of industrial revolution in England. The textile industry in India almost came to the halt. The administrative policies of the East India Company were made to benefit the British that the Indians. Railways made it possible to transport European goods to the village areas for sale. It turned into the monetary exploitation of the Indians. Economic nationalism. Rise of economic nationalism was an outcome of the Industrial Revolution, arresting the economic growth of the rival nations along with the fervently pursuing the economic growth of one's own nation became very important. It became important to devise ways to put economic restrictions on the rival country. Measures such as prohibiting the import export transactions of the other countries, levying heavy tolls on their goods, establishing colonies mainly in the Asian and African countries. If need be, fighting battles with the natives of the colonies were part of economic nationalism. The chain of surplus production was the effect of industrial revolution, and in turn the economy based on the surplus production supported economic nationalism and also imperialism. Extreme nationalism, industrialization concept of the racial superiority, aggressive colonial policies supported further growth of the imperialism. The result was the immense expansion of the empire of European nations like England, France, Belgium, Germany, etc. So student, here we have finished with the lesson number 1. All the points we have covered. That in the first lesson mainly we have discussed about the geographic discoveries which were made by different explorers, and how they discovered the land, and that was the starting for the trading, and that was the starting of the colonialism. So in the next lesson we are going to continue with the European colonialism, how they had established their colonies because they wanted to do trading with the different countries, especially with the India, because India it was rich in spices. Okay, so what were the impact of that, and all the things we are going to discuss in the next lesson. Thank you everyone, have a nice day.